Parents, you'll want to listen to this. You can access plenty of information from your phone, play games, control banking accounts, even lock and unlock doors to your home. But when it comes to your kids, can too much access open the door for an unlimited amount of inappropriate or dangerous content? I sat down with a local counselor to find out more. With the internet today, kids have the world at their fingertips, literally.
There's just a wealth of knowledge out there. And so I really appreciate the fact that, I think about my generation. If I didn't have a book to find that, I couldn't figure out, or I couldn't find what I needed, but I can literally just pick up my cell phone and find exactly what I need for school or anything else.
Peterson says connectivity also a key benefit for kids having a cell phone.
When it's summertime and you may not get to see your friends for a couple of months, I think about how as a 13-year-old or younger, that can be really hard. That can really impact you mentally.
But when Peterson, who's also a mother of two, thinks about the cons of being such a connected society,
that is always what gives me pause.
Of course, there are plenty of dangers on the web: ID theft, potential stalkers, hackers, bullies, just to name a few.
If you're giving your child unlimited access, they could literally see anything at any time, and that's a scary thing.
One way to fight it: access at an appropriate age.
American Academy of Pediatrics has said you should not give your child access to a tablet or anything else before 18 to 24 months. There are some cool tools out there for young children to be on an iPad, but research does not support that it's helpful in any way at that age. So what is the first kind of age where I should feel comfortable giving my child a cell phone? Research indicates 12 to 14, and that's not across the board. Every child is different, and I know that, but research indicates about 12 to 14 is the age where it's more acceptable, more appropriate.
Peterson tells me recent studies break down why some indirect effects from cell phones can have larger impacts on growing brains.
I think the first thing that really is a big deal for me is just any parent that has a kid who's been on an iPad, you know the meltdowns that come after, and there's research to support that that does happen. There's one research in particular where they were looking at giving the child a real toy and then giving them a toy or an app, something that had lots of lights and things that they could play with. And there was a 60% chance of the child giving the toy back to the parent, but that drops to about 40 or less when they're given something that has lots of stimulants on it. Those stimulants hit things like our dopamine, and that's that feel-good receptor. Those are gonna get hit much more quickly when you have a stimulant like flashing lights and things like that. I think another thing to note about cell phones is in the research, they showed that the skill is not transferable. And what I mean by that is if you give a kid an app that has a guitar on it and then give them a real guitar, that does not transfer. Same thing goes with like building blocks. If I give them an app and it has Legos on it and they can build something on the app with Legos, if I put them in front of Legos, that's not going to transfer.
Peterson says parents need to be diligent. Don't be afraid to invade their privacy, because you as the parent pay their bills, so you have a right to know. Know their passwords, check the content they're looking at, put blockers and filters where you need to, and most of all, have open and honest conversations. And for more parenting tips, you know where to go, myhighplains.com. We're continuing our conversation this morning with Angela Peterson, a local family counselor, about how cell phones and devices and extended screen time can affect your kids. There's a wealth of information on the internet. On the flip side, there's also plenty of inappropriate and dangerous content that your kids can gain access to. Here's Angela with more tips.
I think you have to really ask the question, like, what am I giving my kid the phone for? And that will direct that for you. And so if I'm giving my child the phone just so they can call me in emergencies, or they can have some kind of device where they can see what time it is. Maybe they're saying like, oh mom, I need to be picked up at this time. And so that helps them keep track of their time. I think if it's for that in particular, then you really want to look at something like a Bark phone, where it doesn't have it doesn't have access to the internet and things like that. You want to filter those things out based off what your kids' needs are.
The long-term effects of cell phone use and kids is yet to be determined, but the American Institute of Health getting the conversation started with a massive study.
They're spending $300 million on this study, and so it's a big, big deal. They're tracking 11,000 kids for 10 years, and what they're trying to look at is how is the cell phone use and screen time use impacting the brain. Some of the preliminary studies have shown that it actually changes the shape of the brain. It's changing what the brain actually looks like. So one of the things that they noted was that the cortex, which is the outer wrinkly layer of the brain where we process our senses, they're showing is a thinning of that. And so while they don't know what that is going to what the end result of that will be or how that's impacting children, what we do know is that process is starting at like 9 or 10, and it should not be.
Another concern for parents, the easy access to inappropriate content. So what can you as a parent do to protect your child?
Just be diligent. Be diligent. I think a lot of parents kind of hide behind the guise of, well, I don't want to get in their privacy. I want to give them privacy. They're a child. They're a child, and we have to remember that. And so checking their information often. What are their passwords? I should have access to your phone because I pay the bill, which means it's actually my phone, and I can go through those things. Will your child be angry? Yes, but if you had those conversations early on, then it's just a given. Hey, I'm giving you this knowing that we're going to have cell phone free zones. So when you go to bed at night, I'm going to take the cell phone because you need to focus on rest. That is the only thing I want happening when that bedroom door closes. I also think about just having family time. I don't want the phone at the table so that we can connect, so that I can know about you and what your thoughts are. I also think that's an important time for you to just put eyes on your kid and recognize changes. When kids just have their phone and go into their room, I think you miss a lot of things. Like when I'm asking questions about anxiety and depression and self-harm and suicidal thoughts, the first thing I'm looking at is like, what behavior changes have you seen? What have you observed that is different in their appearance?
And for more parenting tips, you know where to go. BuyHighPlains.com.